Hi guys, it's Jen with creativelyhomemade.com. Today I am finishing up my handmade Christmas ornament series. So today's ornament is a pretty Star of Bethlehem rosette ornament, and I really like how this turned out. Super pretty. So I am using the Star of Light stamp set for this, and I'm also using the coordinating dies. I'm using this really pretty ornate Star of Bethlehem die to make the centerpiece on this ornament. Really easy and quick to put together, so let's get started and I'll show you how to make it. We're going to start by making this little banner at the bottom, and to stamp that I'm using the Star of Wonder, Star of Night stamp from the Star of Light stamp set. So I've already got that mounted on a block. You're going to need a strip of Whisper White cardstock that is 8.5 inches by 1 inch. And that's just, you don't really need it that long, but it's going to give you some playroom, and that way you don't have to be so precise with your stamping. So I am using Night of Navy ink, and I'm just going to ink that up and stamp it close to in the center, but you don't have to be precise. Okay, and now we're going to pull out our paper trimmer. So let me grab that. And we are going to cut 1.5 inches from the end of the text on both sides. So what you want to do is, for the first side, you want to line up that last dot with 1.5 inches on your trimmer. Just like that. And then cut that end. And then flip it over, and you want to go 1.5 inches from the end of that S. So line that S up at 1.5 inches and cut. So you can set aside your paper trimmer. Now I'm pulling out this triple banner punch to make the fishtails on the ends. Now the nice thing about this punch is it makes 3 different sizes of banners. It makes 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches. So it's really nice for using in your paper crafting and cards. So this, we're going to line this up just in that center track, and that's for the 1 inch banner. Push it all the way back and give it a punch, and then that gives you the nice little end. And I'm going to repeat the same for the other side. And you can throw away those scraps. And now you need a paper scorer. Now if you have the Stampin' Up paper trimmer, it has a scorer on it. So you can use that, or you can pull out the scoring board. But since I'm going to be using the scoring board for another step in making this ornament, that's what I'm going to use today. So line the edge of the banner up at the top, and you are going to score at 3.5 inches and 3 3/4 inches. And then flip it over and do the same thing. 3.5 inches, 3 3/4 inches. And you can set aside your scoreboard for now. And then if you can see the score lines, on each side you want to fold the first one back and then the next one forward. So that gives you the nice little folded banner look on the ends. And do the same thing on the other side. The first fold back, the second one forward. And then that gives you this nice little 3-dimensional banner shape. Now we need to do some die cutting. You need a 2-inch circle in Night of Navy cardstock for the front and the back, and you need this ornate Star of Bethlehem. So I have pulled out scraps of Night of Navy and gold foil cardstock. The gold foil cardstock needs to be at least 3.5 inches by 4 inches, and then you need enough room on your Night of Navy cardstock to do 2 circles. So I've pulled out my star die set, and I've also pulled out my layering circles, so I need the 2-inch one. Now if you don't have the layering circles die set, but you have a 2-inch circle punch, that will work just as well. So I'm going to cut those circles first. run that back through to cut a second one. And then I'm just using the standard magnetic plate for the circles. But when you go to cut the star out, you will want to switch over to the precision plate. This plate is made to cut out the more intricate dies, and it'll make it so it does a much better job and it's much easier to poke out of the paper. So I'm putting my piece of gold foil down, and then I'm using this ornate star die. So I'm just going to put the plate on there. Now anytime I am cutting out an intricate die with lots of inner pieces, I like to run it through 3 or 4 times to make sure that it all cuts out. I found that if I do that, then it makes sure it cuts all the way through on some of those inner pieces, and I don't have to risk poking them out and tearing them. Okay, so before I remove that from the paper, I'm going to run my die brush over it. So let me get that out real quick and I will be right back. Okay, so I've pulled out my die brush. This is just a thick bristle brush that is made to use with the Sizzix dies. So I'm placing the die cut still in the paper on the foam mat that comes with the die brush, and I'm just running that back and forth. After we have ran the die brush over that paper multiple times, paper and die, you will see you can pull that die cut very easily away from that die. You still want to kind of be gentle so it doesn't rip, but as you can see, most of those pieces are completely poked out. In fact, it poked out all of them. Now if it does happen to miss 1 or 2, you can use your paper piercing tool to poke them out. But if you ran that back and forth through your die cut machine multiple times, you shouldn't have any problem with any of them sticking and then you having to pull them out and rip them. Okay, so now we're ready to start making the rosette part of this ornament. So I've pulled out my scoring board, and I have 2 strips of paper that are cut to 2 inches by 12 inches, and I am using the Season of Cheer Designer Series paper. This is a specialty Designer Series paper that has foiling on it. It's only single-sided, unlike our other Designer Series paper, but it's all foiled in gold, silver, and copper. So it's really, really pretty, and any of these patterns would be great as a background for this ornament. So I've got my strips already. You want to put the long edge up at the top of your scoring board. I'm just scoring on the back of it. That's your preference, of course. I just find it easier to do the back side instead of trying to score over the foiling. And you are going to score every ½ inch down the length of this strip of paper. Okay. And this is a thicker paper, so you want to use a little bit of pressure. You don't want to push so hard that it goes completely through the paper, but you're going to use a little bit more pressure than you would use if you were scoring our standard Designer Series paper. And it doesn't take very long to go down the entire length. And you end at 11½ inches. So there it is scored. I don't know if you can see the score lines, and I've already got the second one done. So you can put your scoring board away, and now you need to pull out your hot glue gun. So anytime I use my hot glue or my heat tool, I like to put an old silicone baking mat down on my workspace to help protect my desk. So I've got that laid down here. You need your 2 scored strips, and you need those 2 circles that we cut from Night of Navy. So we're going to start by folding these strips. You just want to go back and forth, folding it into a fan shape, and press together every so often to really crease those fold lines. And it doesn't take too long to get all of that folded into a fan. And then repeat that with the other one. Just like that. one 12-inch strip alone is not enough to form the rosette shape. It won't go all the way around into a circle, so we're going to have to attach both of these together. So what I like to do is just take one hill here and put the hill of another strip right over top of it, so you get a nice seam that doesn't bulge when you form this into a rosette. So I am just going to first add hot glue to one side and stick the other one down right on top of it, lining up the ends, and then just flip it over and add hot glue on the other side. Normally most projects that I make with hot glue can be used, you can make them with Tombow or other forms of adhesive like maybe our Fast Fuse. This one really you need to use hot glue because otherwise it's just going to fall apart. Okay, so now we have one long fanned piece. So we're going to form it into a circle, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the hill of one over the hill of the other and glue that together. Okay, just slide that in there. I'm going to flip to the other side and do the same thing. Add another strip of thin layer of hot glue and press that to close that seam. Okay, so now we have this formed into a ring. We need to make it so it lays flat. And this is by far the fussiest part of this whole project, is to getting this to fold down into a rosette. Now the easiest way I've found to do it is to kind of bunch up the folds on one side and bunch up a couple of the folds on the other side, and you're going to push inward while kind of forcing the other ones to go down. Just like that. And you're going to want to do this a couple of times to kind of get this to start wanting to be in that shape. It's still not going to stay, it'll still pop back up, but it's easier the next time to kind of force it into staying into that rosette so you can hot glue it for the next step. So once you get that a couple of times to start doing that, whoops, then you want to add some hot glue to the back of one of your circles. And you want to be very generous with this because this is going to be what holds this rosette in place. So I'm just squeezing a large dollop of hot glue there. And then working quickly, get that to go back into your rosette shape and transfer that over to the center of that circle. And you're going to get some hot glue that seeps up through the middle, but you want to press that rosette together tightly so all those folds meet in the center. And then you're going to need to hold that for a few minutes so that that glue sets up and that will stay in that shape. Okay, so once it's started to set up a little bit and you can get it so you can hold it with one hand, you want to add a dollop of hot glue right to the center. And then you're going to put the second Night of Navy circle right in the center. And that's going to help hold that together. And again, let this set a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. You want this to completely set now that you have the circles on the front and the back. Okay, so now we have all the prep work done and we are ready to assemble our ornament. So you want to take that Star of Bethlehem die cut that you cut earlier, and you want to add fine tip glue all over the back of it, the center area, and that's going to go on the center of your Night of Navy circle. So go ahead, and you don't want to extend out to any of the points, you just want to do the center area. This fine tip glue pen is really nice for when you need to get into little areas like this. Normally I don't use it for everyday gluing, but it's really nice when you have more intricate die cuts that you need to glue down. Okay, so I'm just going to flip that over and center it on the front of our rosette. And then I like, whenever I'm using that fine tip glue pen, I like to set a mounting block on top of my project. That adds some weight and helps ensure that all the surfaces adhere. So I'm just going to set that aside for a couple of minutes and let that set, and I will be right back. Okay, now that's all dry and stuck down, I want to add a metallic gem to the center of the star. So I'm just using a circle from the metallic gems pack. These are, you get 3 different shapes and you get both gold and silver, so those are fun to have on hand. So I'm just sticking a silver circle down to the center. And if you didn't get it put in place the first time, this paper piercing tool can help nudge it to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now we're ready to stick this banner down to the edge of our ornament. So I'm just going to add hot glue all along the back here. And it's going to overlap that star slightly, but you just kind of want to slide it up on the edge and press it there to hold. There we go. And then the last thing you need to do is to add a hanging loop. So I am just using 1/8 inch gold ribbon. You can cut whatever length you want. Some people like bigger loops and some people put shorter ones on because they're going to be putting ornament hooks on them anyway. And that's what I tend to do. So I am going to cut maybe, oh, that's maybe 9 inches of ribbon. So turn your ornament over to the back side. And you want to make note of where that point comes up because that's where you're going to want to adhere the ribbon. So it's along there. And just add some hot glue and hold that ribbon in place. And then fold your loop over and add another dab of hot glue. And then let that cool. So here is the finished ornament. I think all that gold foiling will look so pretty catching the light on your Christmas tree. And I also made one that is a little bit smaller. It doesn't have the banner on the bottom, but I think this one is equally pretty. This one might be good as a present topper. I always like using ornaments as present toppers because then they basically get 2 gifts in one. They can have the gift itself and then a little ornament to hang on their tree. So this one is made using 1.5 inch strips of designer series paper instead of 2-inch ones like this one uses. So be sure to leave me a comment down below and let me know which one you prefer. Do you like the larger one with the Star of Wonder banner on it, or do you like the smaller one? So if you would like to purchase any of the supplies I used to make these ornaments, including the Star of Light stamp set and the coordinating dies, I have links down in the description box below where you can go and purchase those. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so any purchase through my links goes to help support my family, so I thank you for that. And as a reminder, if you make a $50 or more purchase through my online Stampin' Up! Store using this month's host code, I do have a free gift for you. So be sure to check out that offer. If you enjoyed this tutorial and it's inspired you to do some Christmas crafting, be sure to give my video a thumbs up. That provides feedback to me and lets me know what types of projects you'd like to see in the future. And if you would like to see more Christmas crafts, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more fun tutorials coming up for you in the near future. Thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting!